Because now, as a global financial services and technology hub, Ireland is a source of fintech innovation. Ireland's innovative fintech companies have a strong track record of helping major banks and marketplaces to respond to rapid digitization and changing consumer demand. Several of these Irish companies will be at the event to interact with leading Nigerian companies. The event, Ireland Leading the Fintech Revolution, is taking place at the Wheat Baker Hotel, Ikoyi, Lagos, on Friday, November 1 this year. And joining me now in our Lagos studio to discuss more on this is Enterprise Ireland representative here in Nigeria, Thessa Brongers Bagu. Good to have you join us today.
Thank you very much, David. Good
now
to see
let's
you.
start off the conversation with the evolving space of fintech and what makes Ireland an innovation hub.
Yeah, it's not something that a lot of people perhaps associate with Ireland, and perhaps a lot of people don't even know Ireland. A lot of people actually even think Ireland is part of the UK, and luckily for us, the Brexit is educating people that we're very different. Ireland used to be a poor country, not too long ago actually, and became the Celtic tiger, as they said, on the back of strong investment in education, getting FDI mainly from America, and then nurturing the indigenous Irish companies to compete internationally. So creating that cosmos, that conducive environment has spurred Irish companies to go beyond the original American FDIs and to be more innovative and more solution focused than the international competition. So these days, Ireland is actually the second largest software exporter in the world. Exactly. And not many people know that, so I'm very happy to be here and share that message.
Yes, exactly. Now let's take a look at the FinTech Week now. It's quite a celebration with a whole lot of innovation. Solutions are coming in, day out. It's well concentrated with a whole lot of activities in store. But now your event is coming up on November 1, which is almost like the climax of the FinTech Week. Tell me about it.
Well, we did choose the date, of course, because of the FinTech Week. I mean, everybody is in Lagos, and Lagos is quickly becoming a hub of its own. So to associate ourselves with the fact that Nigeria is such an important country for FinTech is also a signal that we say, well, we take this country very seriously. At the same time, we are ahead compared to most other countries. And we're here to share our experiences and our companies that can make a really good impact for Nigerian financial institutions. And not just financial institutions. Think of e-commerce, think of insurance, think of pension funds. So it's not just the banks, it's like a very wide range of companies that can benefit from financial technology. So that week, Nigeria showcases what it has. And at the end of the week we say, this is fantastic, but Ireland is there to be to partner and to create an even better future for Nigeria.
And what will be the biggest take home now? This is one of the most strategic conferences or meetings. How many players are we expecting from Ireland and Nigeria? And what sort of interactions are you expecting really?
So our event is going to be more of an exclusive event. It is really for C-suite director level at those institutions. So not so much a public event per se. We're not looking at the quantity of people, but at the quality. The same with Ireland. So we're not bringing in every Irish company that is into the fintech space. We have over 900 companies that are into fintech. So we're starting with a very modest number of 4, but showing a very wide range of fintech solutions out of Ireland. It's to create that awareness. I mean, in Nigeria, people may not know that Ireland is so strong. In Ireland, people might not know that Nigeria is so strong. So we're taking the best of both countries.
Interesting. So now let's talk about establishing the fintech space, using your experience in Ireland as well, interacting with all of these companies. Let's talk about infrastructure, capacity building, and also having regulation of open banking as well. How do we put all of these together and now ensure that Nigeria is on a steady growth path?
Well, it's a very good question actually, and you have to look at all of those aspects. You can't just focus on having regulation or having good data connections or on creating a good tax environment. You know, I always say start with education. So one of the reasons why Ireland is such a strong country is because it has the highest educated working force in the European Union. So you have the smart minds, and Nigeria has the smart minds. But you know, there has to be education first. Then there has to be a very clear interplay between education and the companies that require the solutions. The government, of course, should say, okay, let's make it possible for these companies to thrive. And you were mentioning the ease of doing business environment in your earlier message. Nigeria should be shooting up a bit more than just 15 steps, in my opinion. So creating that conducive environment, and then how I know Nigeria so far, Nigeria can leapfrog and become much more important than it is now. The beauty of fintech is not that you can take baby steps, but you can actually leapfrog. So even the interaction that we are foreseeing between our companies and the Nigerian companies, there's capacity building there as well. All our companies are working with local partners. Some have already local country directors. There is a very strong interaction. People are learning from each other and building on the solutions that are being provided. So if Nigeria keeps on doing that, we'll see much more coming.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit more exactly on the way to go now, looking at the use of big data, consumer protection as well, privacy issues. These are issues that cut across different economies beyond Ireland, beyond Nigeria, beyond Africa and the world at large. These are burning issues. How do we tackle these?
With the good technology. So one of the companies that is even there on the 1st of November, they would be known as you know, a cyber security, but then very specific. So GDPR, making sure that credit cards details are not being shared. So that is one aspect of it. The other thing is, of course, the platforms on which solutions run. So there's one thing to make a good mobile app, I mean, for mobile payments. It's fairly straightforward, and more companies can provide it. But how is it integrated with the rest of your business? How can you prevent hacking? How can you make sure it's robust? And this is where Ireland has an advantage, because it has been in that space for much longer and has been developing solutions to make it safe and secure. Another company there on the 1st of November is actually into identity management and biometrics to make sure that, like, it's, you know, not just your thumbprint, but also your iris scan, etc. Just to secure your payments. So
this is to mitigate any chances of data breaches and a whole lot more of these challenges.
Because at the end of the day, people will adopt more and more fintech solutions if they think it is safe. If they feel that, like, the people are not tampering with their data when you top up a card and it's not randomly deducted or added or anything. So it's that security is also needed to make consumers adopt the technology more.
And now talking a little bit, let's spread our tentacles a little bit now. Talking about the financial sector, we see blockchain, we see AI also expanding, and sometimes we almost can't even do enough of playing catch up. Now, what are your expectations this time around in seeing dramatic increases in the level of investments? Talking about replicating what has happened in Ireland, what is happening there, and bringing that to the Nigerian experience.
Well, you start already saying with investment, and it's so necessary. So Enterprise Ireland, though a government entity, is the second largest investor in fintech in the world by deal count. So that shows how investment is actually crucial to lift an entire sector above its otherwise capacity. You need to be ready for what is going to happen, and blockchain is being a very nice example. At the moment, regulations may be against it, but that they can't stop that forever. Technology is going faster than regulation, and regulation is trying to catch up with those developments. So at some point you have to make a bold statement and say, listen, this is where the world is going to. We're now going to make that possible. And I think a country like Nigeria, again, can leapfrog, use Irish technology, have it secured, but then have the regulations to allow the natural progression to take place.
And talk about natural progression. Let's do a vis-a-vis comparison now. Using Ireland, using Asia, and then the rest of Europe. What are the differences you have, or you've noticed, in terms of the pattern using AI, blockchain?
Well, Ireland is a very small country. Like, it has 5 million people, right? So it's much smaller than even Lagos. So what Ireland does is it makes the software and exports it to the rest of the country, the rest of the world. So if you're not talking about Asia, they're probably working with Irish software, the same with America. So Yeah, but like to grow to that level, you need to make sure that you deliver on your promises. And that is what Ireland does very consistently. Like it's that innovation and finding a solution for the customers that Ireland is so strong at.
Solution-based approaches,
Yeah.
that's the way to go, really.
Exactly.
But now let's also talk about stimulants. We are looking for better policy regimes. We're looking at continental fintech efforts and a whole lot more. But do you think we would have a strong, unified African fintech market, really?
We already have a strong fintech market.
In Africa?
In Africa. It may not be unified as such. And our friends in Kenya would always argue that they're the Silicon Valley of Africa, whereas I'm always arguing that Lagos is that. So the market is already there, and I've been in this country for 13 years, and you know we had like a handset, well, so like a little phone that could barely send an SMS, and now you have an entire suite of financial services on your phone. So Africa, and Nigeria in particular, has grown tremendously over the years already. So it is now, like you say, how can we nurture that environment? And I think, well, as a trade proponent, I would say it's that interaction. Do not close your borders to whatever comes from Ireland, but you know, build on that and invest. We need more local investment. We need more companies and also individuals and the government to say, okay, this is a crucial sector and we need to nurture it.
And before I let you go now, I have some big statistics I'd like to share with you and your projections for 2020. Now, approximately 24% of people around the globe are already familiar with blockchain technology. We see Goldman Sachs also estimates that worldwide fintech pie to be worth about $4.7 trillion. How much of a projection are you seeing for 2020? 2019 is almost done.
Well, you're catching me there because I'm not a fintech expert, government entity here. Having that said, I would say any projection that you make, probably just increase it with 20–25% for the year going. Irish exports have grown with 17% in fintech alone, and the fintech space is growing even more rapidly globally.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Thessa Brongers Bagu.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we have quite an interesting conversation on November 1.
Looking forward. Thank you so much.
Well, it's time to take a